Hello, everybody. It is good to see you tonight. Hi, Rhonda, Sharon, Dorothy, Stacy May. Good to see you. Sharon said hi to Sharon. Rhonda, Tori, hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. I almost said Friday. It's not. It's Monday. Isn't it? All day long. It's been a wacky day today. Hi, Linda. Hello to Linda and Tim. I hope you're both doing well. Hope Tim is continuing to make good, steady progress. Hello, Peggy. Happy Valentine's Day Eve. Eve, right? Get a dish. Okay. Tim is doing well. Good. That is good news. Good news. It's Monday. Some Mondays are crazier than others, aren't they? Boy, I just look outstanding today. Oh, well. You guys are used to it. Remember in 2020 when we watched my part go from this color to it just gradually got white. The entertainment was come back and see what Barb's hair looks like today, next time. Yeah. Anyway, cheers to you guys. Cheers. Okay. Some things I thought I would share and show with you. I'll start with a book. I showed you this book. No, I didn't show you. I told you about this book. It's one of those where the brain and the mouth are not synced up. Maybe by the end of the broadcast, they will sync up. They're just currently kind of doing their own thing. How many cups of coffee do I drink a day? Usually two, sometimes 3. How many do you drink, Rhonda? This is tea. This is actually caffeine-free tea. It's called Bengal Spice by Celestial Seasonings. It is my personal tea of choice. If you like things like cinnamon and cloves and that kind of spice, it's good. If you don't like cinnamon, one of my really good friends doesn't like cinnamon. She would hate this tea. In fact, anything she gets that tastes like cinnamon, I get. Because she ends up giving it to me. Hello, Angie. Yeah, there you go. Sometimes at night if it's too early to go to bed. I can relate to that. Hi, Connie. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. How was your school day? I hope you did. I hope you had a good day today. I do. So I thought I would show you this book. Some of you may be interested in it. Some of you may not. Just because it is a book about Bible journaling, Bible art journaling, or journaling, as it were, does not. If you're not into that, that doesn't mean you can't use the ideas to do some other kind of book. Hey, Ruth. So I thought I would show this to you. There are quite a few books out there that are published for ideas for journaling using a Bible. I saw this one and it quite appealed to me, so I thought I'd share it with you. I still haven't replaced my Credi mat. Looks like it's not going to get done till I get back. Anyway, Bible journaling for the Fine Artist by Melissa Fisher and Kate Pfeiffer. Peifer. Peifer? I don't know. Anyway, inspiring Bible journaling techniques and projects to create beautiful faith-based fine art. So, like I said, if this is not your thing, you can relate this to, it's a Walter Foster book. You could relate this to any book that you have a fondness for that you would like to illustrate or use as a journal. Hello, Dana. Good to see you. One of the things that's fun to practice in any book that you're not afraid to journal in is the calligraphy or drawing letters, the art of the letter. In the VIP class this past week, we talked a little bit about that. And here comes Chance. Apparently we're going to have a Chance break before we get started. Come here. Come on. Are you coming up? Come here. Stop talking and come here. Come on. Come on. Come here. Come on. Stop talking. Stop talking and come here. There you go. It's like a 2-year-old. 2 or 3-year-old. It's like, you know, they just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And here he is in all of his beautifulness. Put your face up there so they can see you. Look up there. There you go. There you go. In case any of you are new, welcome, first of all. This is Chance. He is the show sponsor because some of the time he lets me stream. Some of the time he doesn't. And so most of the time he doesn't. So we have to put him in this room with treats and catnip. Let me see if he can get on my lap. Maybe he'll be quiet while I write. Let's look at the book again. Now he's getting off my lap and he's going to go over there and whine because he thinks that he should have his treats. See? Am I right? Mm-hmm. Okay. We're not going to get started till I can take care of that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Come on. There you go. Have fun. I'm glad that I got a big container of cat treats because he seems to like them. And he falls for it every time. All right, let's try again. Let's try this again. So I thought I would just go through a little bit of this. Hi, Starla. Hello, Deborah. River City, Deborah. Okay, Angie, enjoy. I'm just going to leaf through parts of it so you can just get an idea. I love the lion. I did a lion in Life Book several years ago with Tam Laporte. Different than this, but had a kind of a similar look. I love a lion's face, the strength of the lion. So there's a section on getting started. I mean, it's full of inspiration throughout. So what kinds of materials and pens and whatever to use. Ideas, even just the sketching ideas are really good. Applying wet media, watercolor pencils, and so forth. Extra tips, washes of color, how to make the images pop. Oh, the cat is getting me tonight. So, I like this. Another option for beginners, fake it till you make it. There's nothing wrong. Pardon me again. There's nothing wrong with copying or tracing something you love onto the page of your Bible. Collect inspirational images from anywhere, greeting cards, coloring books, magazines, scrapbook paper. You can even pull out sketches out of your own sketchbook and transfer into your Bible. So, and the reason that that's find to do that is you're not going to sell. Not going to sell your Bible. You're not going to sell a book you're working in, hopefully. If you are going to sell a book, if you plan to sell the book that you've created and you've illustrated with journaling and artwork and so forth, then make sure that it's your own stuff, okay? Or that you have permission from wherever the art came from to resell the work. So be real careful about that copyright stuff. Hello, Jenny. Who else did I miss? Anybody? If I did, thank you for coming. I tell you, the cat he just blew a lot of coat there for a little bit. So, so he made my nose go crazy. Anyway, give you a quick other look through this. So different ways of shading, exploring color, telling a story with color. All of these are applicable for regular art journaling, or, as I said, illustrating any kind of book. I particularly like text, and I love this kind of thing where you have text with different styles and types of text. Just a moment. This is my lettering practice journal, which I haven't done anything in ages. This was an image that I saw. This was actually a canvas at a craft store that I snapped a picture of, not to copy it, but just to have the inspiration for all the different styles and kinds of letters. My granddaughter did something like this, and it was great. It was really great. I will cut out magazine images, write with the different pen tips that I have so I can see how they look on the paper. And while I'm writing with them, I will practice different lettering styles. I am not a calligrapher by any means, but I do love letters as an art form. Big apologies for blowing my nose in front of you. So just looking at different inspiration for different kinds of letters. Most of these I drew, some of them I've cut out. I'm always looking for different kinds of inspirational letters. I like this. That was from a paper bag. And these were all just little color copies from a little tiny book that I have. This was the front cover of the book. And I just love the way that she used the text to illustrate direction. So I did that. So all different kinds. Anyway, so it's really good. I have several lettering journals like this. And I sometimes forget this is a little bit like what this is. This piece. Black gesso with white pens over the top of it. That was where I was just figuring out what kind of white pens I liked. Here's another one. And then this was actually using quotes that I illustrated over paste paper, using the lines of the paste paper. Quotes on top of text paper. Different baselines. So anyway, that's that concept. And then if you run out of room, you turn the book over and this is a little book that I did. Again, different kinds of ideas. And this is just different things from, every journal I have has crap stuck in the back of it. And they all do. Again, using my journal. This is a composition notebook that happened to be a graph style, and just doing different kinds of lettering and notes and so forth. what I did, the reason that these edges are colorful is because I taped 2 of the pages together using washi tape. That makes a really nice colorful look to your pages, and it thickens up your pages a little bit. Okay, all right. Anyway, so I thought I would show you that and just talk about this, keep talking about this book a little bit. So if you like the concept of Bible journaling, I think you could learn a lot of things in this. If you don't like the concept of Bible journaling, this kind of thing with a quote down the side of the page is perfectly applicable to any style, to any book. You just look through it. I just think it's really I think it's a cool book. I think I'm going to enjoy. I love this. Of course, I use a lot of hands in my work, so a handprint, and she wrote something in the middle of it and put some flower. That is me all day long. This. Anyway, I just thought I would show you that because it's a pretty cool book. Lots of doodling ideas, different kinds of floral images. Yeah, there you go. So that is Bible journaling for the fine artist, in case you wanted to see that, or if you were curious about it. So it is Valentine's Day coming up. However, you might or might not be someone who celebrates Valentine's Day, but it's always okay to celebrate love for someone in your life, love for your family, love for your fellow human beings, love for somebody who's going through a hard time. It is a good book. It really is. And so I thought I would give you some ideas. I saved these when I was cleaning out stuff. I thought I would show you these. I had saved these after Claus Man passed away. I saved them as examples, and I thought you might enjoy getting some inspiration. I realize Valentine's Day is 2 days away, but from the time that I'm going live with this, but you can always use the ideas because you don't have to use it for Valentine's Day. I did this little style journal that I'm going to show you right here. I did this for each one of my grandkids and also one for my son. So I did a lot of these, and it does not have to have any, and I did this when I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know about art supplies. I didn't know about journaling. I didn't know anything about products. Yeah. So this is a very beginner's kind of journal. This one was a little bit further down the road. This one, I don't know exactly when I did this one. Maybe I dated it. I usually date things inside the piece. This, I believe, this was inspired, this concept was inspired, I think, from probably a Somerset Studio magazine or something like that. You have a ton of the rings. They work really well for this kind of binding technique. I actually, for regular journals, I don't like them, for just a writing journal, because they get in my way. They don't lay flat. But for something like this, it works great. And for something like this, it works great. This is actually a little bit big, but it works really well. So anyway, we'll go through the first one, the earliest one. I think this is the earliest one. This is a deck of cards. So it's just a regular deck of cards. Nothing unusual, just plain old deck of cards. And this was, I don't even know how many years ago. Let's see if I dated it. 2009. It was a few years ago. And it was a thing that I saw online that was an idea for 52 reasons, or 52 things I love about you. That's what it was supposed to, use as inspiration. So what I did with this one is, this particular one this was done for my husband. I did them for, as I said, for each of the grandkids. And the one I want to tell you about is, I have 2 grandsons and a granddaughter. The granddaughter I am by far the closest to. She is the youngest of the 3 kids, the 3 grandkids. And the middle one, the middle brother, was the hardest for me to get closest to, for whatever reason. And he was kind of hard for Claus Man to get close to as well. It was kind of like he was always a little suspicious. He'd hang back a little bit, or, I'm not really sure. Maybe the fact that I consistently forgot his birthday had something to do with it. I should have been able to remember his birthday because it was the day before our anniversary, but I would consistently forget it. So I was always late, giving the kid his birthday card, presents, and the whole bit. I didn't mean I didn't love him. I just was an idiot. That's all. I don't know. I have no excuses. Hello, Signa. And so anyway, I did one of these for him. He was in high school, or just out of high school. I think he was still in high school when I did one of these for him. And he told me years later, a lot of the time the kids would acknowledge a gift, but they wouldn't say much about it. And then I never knew if they liked it or not. I just kind of make stuff and give it to them. I made stuff for the kids for years. One year for Christmas, I made each one of them a stuffed monkey. It was like the ones you would see years ago. You'd see them in the theme parks where they had Velcro on their hands and feet, and so that you'd see them hanging around kids' necks and stuff. And I found a pattern and I made one for each of the kids, and that was how I put a pocket or something on them, and that's how we gave money to them, so that they had a thing, but then they had money. It has been a long time, Signa. I'm glad to see you. Anyway, so my grandson said to me, this is years down the road. I don't even know how old he was. Probably in his late 20s. So it's probably been 10 years or something since I had made this little 52 Things I Love About You journal. And I made each one of them very specifically for each kid. So they were not cookie cutter versions of each other. And he told me that he read that pretty much every day. And when he told me that, I was just stunned. I was absolutely stunned. It just took my breath away. And I said, "You do?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah." And there was another thing that he read, I made journals one year, little journals from, we got to go, it was when my mom lived here. And my oldest sister came and her daughter came and stayed with Mom so we could leave. So Claus Man and I left, and we went to go to a big baseball thing that grandson was involved in, and all the kids were there with us. So we took lots of pictures, and then it was before the days of the easy way to take pictures with your smartphones weren't even around at that point. And so then we had to print all the pictures and do all the jazz. And I made little journals, again, tailored to each one of the kids. And he said he read that every day. And I'm like, wow, I had no idea. I had no idea. Anyway, so I thought I would show this to you. I know, right? So sweet. So what I did then was this. Remember, this is very, very rough, rough and ready. So what I did was I used a punch, and I bought the cruddiest scrapbook paper. I mean, it is seriously ugly scrapbook paper. And I used Distress ink because I didn't know anything about any kind of inks. And so I inked these little circles. I inked the card So they're just as grungy as can be. And then I glued the circles, so all the circles were punched the same size and as close to the size of this card as I could get. And this is a regular playing card, so it should be 2.5 by 3.5, which, by the way, is the same size as an ATC, 2.5 by 3.5. Hang on just a second. Okay. And so then after I did that, then I went through, I think I did all of them and punched them. And then I went through and I just wrote with an ink pen. I mean, mind you, it was nothing fancy, with one color of ink pen all the way through, and just wrote all the things that I could think of. And, you know, you'd think it's pretty easy to come up with 52 things that you love about somebody. When you get to about 35 or 40, you start running out. So you better have a good list of things that you want to put in there. Otherwise, you're going to repeat, you know. And then I just kept writing and writing, and, you know, I mean, Tim Holtz would be proud. It is so grungy and gross looking. I didn't even ink the edges of the playing cards. It is, and like this is punched out paper towel. This was some painted watercolor paper. So I did put in a little bit of some of the things that I had done, but most of it is just ugly scrapbook paper. So, and they're in no particular order. This is what I don't like about the rings, because the pages don't turn well, but I'm just showing you the concept. I did nothing to the back, this side, the decorative side of the card. Everything is on the side with the suits and the numbers. And apparently this one, yeah, apparently this one came off. Bless its heart. Yeah, that's all right. He's no longer here. He won't care. Okay. And then these are vellum sentiments, again from the scrapbook department, and I don't even know how I got those glued on there, because they didn't even wrinkle up. So I must have used glue stick. Anyway, it's a really fun idea, and the outside is covered with some watercolor paper that I did. That's on the outside. So it's a little journal, and it's 52 things, 52 reasons I love you. You're going to do one for your oldest grandson. He's 15 and going through a pretty tumultuous time at the moment. Such a good idea. It is amazing how much something like this can make a difference, because especially if you have a little more experience than I had when I did this with art products, and you might do something a little bit more creative. I have another idea I'll show you here in just a second. If you do something that's a little more creative than this, and the ones I did for the grandkids were not a bit more creative than this, and they still like them. so there you go. Okay, we'll look at this one. This was based on the same concept, except that this time I used a die, and I cut all the hearts out. They're all watercolor paper. And I don't remember how many are in here. Shall I count them for you? 140-pound watercolor paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's 10. 12. 15, 16, 18, 20. I probably did as many as I could till I got tired of it. 22, 7, 28, 29, 30, 32, 34, 35. And this I did in 2014. And these are all done with watercolor paper. So I think what I did with these is I think I decorated the sheets of paper. I did this on stream. I think I decorated the sheets of paper and then die cut them. Oh, thank you, Signa. Thank you. So again, this was done for my husband, and I used a lot. I had a lot of stamps, and then I did just some illustrations, just some little quick doodles on top of the the created paper. So like this is a stencil. I mean, it was stenciled and stamped and whatever. And the back side of the watercolor paper was just plain, as I recall. Yeah, they're all the same. So I did decorated both sides of the paper, and then I did these. So many of these are stamps. So the word fly is a stamp, and so is this wing. This is a Diane Reevely wing. So is this little house image. And I think some of the words were incorporated on the in the part where I made decorated the paper, and then I just embellished them as they happen to pop up on a heart. So this is enjoy, and I wrote the word life under it. This says sometimes you just need to go out. This is an outhouse, and I put a smiley face because I knew he would think that was funny. Round and round we go. Again, these were stamped flowers, so they just stamped them and then embellished them. And I wrote, take time to smell the roses, although those are not roses, but you know, use your imagination, people. Just use your imagination. And this says, be grateful for now and always. So they were just little messages of happiness and love and encouragement, and little sentiments as I went through. So this is nothing fantastic, but certainly a step up in the art department from this one. So there's ink around the edges. Both sides of the paper have been done in a fun way with all different kinds of art products. I kept them pretty light. This was a stamp, and so I just put X's and O's on it. I like this stamp. I like you, a latte. For coffee drinkers, you'll get that. Don't be afraid to fly. Hi. Live your life. And I wrote well. So I used a lot of stamps and then just added to them. Create every day. Believe with all your heart. You're the cream in my coffee. We're the perfect blend. Obviously, I have a bunch of coffee stamps somewhere. Doesn't that look like a 70s design, a 70s print? If any of you were alive, you would know. Your kindness warms my heart. You're terrific. Clearly, I have some tea stamps too somewhere. Dream every day. We do not remember days, we remember moments. Enjoy life. big love, believe, always. I'd got a little repetitive, apparently. I was running out of things to say. Dream every moment. And then this is the same as that other one with the X and O's. And that was the end. So that was from 2014. And by just having a single ring on it, it would hang. I punched it, and then I stamped the front cover so when it was hanging up from the ring, it would, it would be level with the world. So there's that one. This one is much bigger. Hello, Darla. This one is, I believe I made this out of polymer clay. It's too heavy to be air dry clay, so I think it's polymer clay, and I think I did this based on inspiration from, like I said, like a Somerset Studio magazine or something like that. And this was, the way that this was done, just to give you an idea, is, as I recall, I'm having to go way back in my thought process because I'm not sure what year this was done. I'll find it maybe inside. I took a bunch of aluminum foil and crunched it up into a heart shape. Okay, so the form, and it was pretty solid. So I just kept adding aluminum foil to it until it was a really firm form, as thick as I wanted. So it was probably this, about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch thick, I'm guessing. And then I molded the clay around it. That's how I did it. Now that I'm talking, I'm remembering. And I don't know if I actually did it in red or if I did it in black. I think I did it in black clay because that's usually what I work with. When I do polymer clay, I usually use black. And I stamped into the heart. So it was different kinds of pattern stamps and text stamps and so forth. I didn't do much on the back other than just some dot, a dot impression stamp that I have. And I poked a couple of holes on each side on the front. So that was my closure. And then I did a rope of polymer that I turned into a heart. And these pieces in here were added afterwards. Those are grunge board, if you remember grunge board that I used a clear embossing powder on. So that's why it's shiny in there. And this little crystal is a hot fix crystal. All right, and then I used elastic thread, which was what I had. It's not good elastic thread, so one of these days it's going to break. I used a double strand of elastic, very lightweight elastic thread, and I sewed the button. So the button is what is the closure here. So I baked it. I also poked holes in the, so that I could use the holes for binding the pages in. So there are holes poked in here. And the reason this has a piece of whatever this is over it is because the holes, I think, pulled out, as I remember. It's been a while. It's been a minute since I did this. So this was after we had been married 40 years. 2011. Is that the same as this one? No, this was 2009. This is 2011, and this was 2014. So all of these are old. Let's see. So I baked the polymer. Let's see. I formed. Excuse me. Okay, I'm having to go back and recreate this in my head and remember what I did. Once I formed the polymer clay over the heart aluminum foil form, then I used a knife and I split it apart. Okay, and then I had to peel the two halves apart, and And then once I got them apart, then I think I baked it on top, put them back on there, but they were separated. You know, it was two pieces. And then I baked it on the aluminum foil. That's what my memory says. Then I took watercolor paper and I created the pages. Let's see if I can find, there's several signatures. What do I have? 4 signatures. Each signature is made up of watercolor paper. Somewhere here is here it is. This is the center of the signature. So I created the pages that would fit inside this little form when it was closed. So no matter what heart you would do with something like this, you would have to make the specialized shape of the pages that would fit inside here. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't have to be your thing. Actually, it could be any shape, you know. So if a heart is not something that you like, then it can be whatever you want to do. This was back before I got married. That's what I looked like before I got married. Look at the length of my hair. I know, right? This was the night before we got married. Look at the length of my skirt. I was teeny-tiny. I was 19 years old, you guys. 19. So a lot of this is done with sprays and stencils and just lots of just little things. This is my wedding day in 1973. So there's my wedding day. These are all photocopies of color photographs from our wedding. So the rendition of them is not so good. This was from something I cut out of a magazine. This is actually us on our wedding day. This is our honeymoon in Hawaii. Still in Hawaii. On Oahu. And so I just put things in here. This was the one cruise we went on. That was in 1984. We went on a cruise. This was when I was dressed up for the captain's dinner. This was a giant, what is this, a flower. This was a silk flower I had pinned on my neckline. I have a dress on. Yes, I do. I don't wear dresses very much, but I did then. We did a lot of motorcycling together, so this was when we were motorcycling. More motorcycle trips. And that was a professional picture we did for something. I don't know what for. And this was in 2010. Yes, we changed a lot. And then I wrote 10 things that I loved about him and put back here. And then I bound those signatures to, this was just a piece of leather, recycled leather from something. I don't know what. It is really stiff. It's probably something that Clausman had in his stash of stuff. And so I bound the pages together, and they're actually stitched onto the polymer. Sorry, they're actually stitched onto the polymer clay. Let me try this again. The signatures are stitched onto the leather spine. The leather spine is what is stitched through and connected to the polymer clay front and back cover. I don't know why I can't stay on the screen tonight. Anyway, there was a lot of time in that little puppy, but it was fun. So, just some ideas. Hey, Tink. We were married 48 and a half years. 48 and a half. Yeah. I went to a funeral today. So, it's a little bit of a whack day today for me. For gentleman that was in Clausman's graduating class from high school. Yeah, it was a little bit of a wacky day. You were very close. You were very close, Rhonda. Okay, so here is one more idea. And this is from the current issue of Art Journaling magazine. And this is the one that was on the newsstand. Last night was, in case any of you are not from the United States or don't follow football, last night was the Super Bowl, and the Kansas City Chiefs were playing in the Super Bowl. I live in Missouri, so Kansas City, Missouri, it's a thing. And so last night was the Super Bowl. And so I was going to the Studley Duck's house to help prepare food and stuff, except I made the mistake of stopping at the bookstore first. And when I stop at the bookstore, which I haven't done in a long time, I look at magazines, I just, especially creative styles of magazines or books, I just get lost in them. And I did, and the next thing I know, I had a phone call from the Studley Duck who's saying, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" I know. I'm not sad, Jean. I'm just pensive. How about that? I'm just pensive. Anyway, so I bought a couple of books, this being one. And so I wanted to show you this concept. I thought we might play with this. I don't know if we will. We may just do some art journaling tonight. I don't know exactly what we're going to do because we're just talking. At the moment, we're just talking. But this is a deck of cards. Okay, so this is a deck of cards. This is another way to do it. I thought this would be fun to do this bookbinding technique. It's a tab binding. So this, every other card has this kind of binding, three strips for the binding, and then the in-between cards have 2 strips, and so they're connected together. They kind of go like this, if you can imagine. The 2 intersect with the 3, and that's how they go together. That's how this binding is created. What I love about this is I love the fact that there are quotes on it. That kind of thing is so, I don't know, I find that so inspiring. And so I thought I would just show you this so you can see that she has let, and this is by Michelle, Kosciolek. I do not know how you pronounce that. But there is the book from the front. But you can see she's carried the concept through, all the way through. And she calls this her Words of Wisdom book. That's what she called it. And so I thought, I love having things like that, little quote books and anything like that. I have one that's not nearly as fancy as that one, but this is a little quote book that I made out of trash. These are all security envelope bits and pieces that were left over from another project. And so I have used that to write quotes in. And I refer back to this frequently. And it has wisdom quotes, but it also has snark quotes in it and fun things. Like I never can remember where my favorite one is. The challenge, here it is. The challenge of this book for me is that I made myself leave all the threads where I did stitching, and I absolutely cannot stand that. But I've made myself leave them, not give it a haircut. This is my favorite quote in the whole book. Women are angels, and when someone breaks our wings, we simply continue to fly, ... on a broomstick. We are flexible. Yeah. We're flexible. My favorite quote in the whole book. And I even quoted, back in the back, I even quoted some people that I used to follow on some of the streamers This was one of Mitzi. Don't get stuck on stupid. I love that. Dee Dee said, postpone worry. Dee Dee still streams. Mitzi hasn't streamed in a long time. Donna Downey used to stream, and she said, one of my favorite things she said when she'd get mixed up with her words, she'd say, just translate me as needed. I love that one. And Minnie Roses was a gal from New York, I believe, and she was very wise, and one day she says, venting supposedly prevents exploding. And another gal that was a streamer said, it's pouring poo and piglets here. It's pouring poo and piglet. And this was Tara. She was a streamer also, and she says, now that's a whole lot of stupid right there. I love that. I love that. That's a whole lot of stupid right there. And the other one she said was, are you new? When one of her kids was like dealing her a fit. And here was another one that somebody said, it must have been a thought that didn't emerge. That was another streamer. I don't remember in what regard those things were, but they sure were funny at the time. Anyway, so those were some streamers that said things that I found amusing or memorable. The rest of them are quotes from famous people. So this is what the book looks like once it is bound. All 52 cards bound together makes a wonderful fat little book. And I love stuff like that. One of my favorite books I have ever seen created was one that a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, who has a fine arts degree, and she had made a structure. It was like a house structure of some kind. I don't remember how she did it, if it was chipboard or if it was wood or what. But anyway, it was this, this style of a house. And in the attic, as I recall, it was in the attic, she made a book that was Coptic stitch bound together that went the whole width of the attic. And so seems like it was about this big, that book fit in the attic part of this house. It was like, I looked at that and I said, I have to know how to do that. And so she taught a class on Coptic stitch binding. And I'm like, after I did a book that had like six, maybe a dozen pages in it. I don't remember for sure. I'm like, hats off to her for being able to do that with a book that was so fat, but it was so cool. It was so cool. I loved it. Anyway, so there is that. And then there are all kinds of other art journaling kinds of things in here. But anyway, I just thought I would show you that as inspiration, since I was kind of showing you this. Dorothy's brother has been married for 75 years. Wow. Wow. That's a long time, Dorothy. That is a long time. He must have been 5 when he got married. Anyway, this is from the most current issue of the Art Journaling magazine. Okay. Oh, let's see. I was kind of thinking that we might do something along this line in an art journal tonight, possibly. Or we could take this concept and we could do it, since it would be nice and small, we could do it on one of these cards. What do you think? Would you be interested in that? Jenny's been married for 42 total years. 75 years. That is amazing, Dorothy. That is amazing, Dorothy. Woo! We'll just do this. We'll just go for it. Okay? We'll just go for it. Let's take a couple of cards and we'll work on 2 at a time. And we're going to do it a little differently than what that one was, but we'll kind of get the concept. You can approach this in different ways. You can go ahead and paint the backgrounds on these, or you could put scrapbook paper on these, or you could take something like these tissue papers. These are Dina Wakley tissue papers. You could start with something like that as a background. That would be fine. But I thought he's 96. Wow. Congratulations to him. But what I thought we would do is use some of these tissue papers or deli papers that I have. Use some of these deli papers that I have, and we'll just use those instead. Okay, we'll start with these as our background. That gives us a good starting point. Let's use this one. All right, so I'm going to use this Cruddy matte. It's a non-stick matte, Tim Holtz Ranger non-stick matte, which we taped onto a piece of, I don't know what, it wasn't masonite, but something similar, that we taped onto this with Gorilla Tape, and Gorilla Tape has held it on for years. So anyway, for me, it works out better to have it where it is, it's a stiff mat, so I can pick it up and move it. So it does look very, very cruddy because I've used alcohol inks on it. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to put some matte medium on here. Hopefully it'll stick. This is Liquitex matte medium. Hopefully it will stick. It should. And I just need to get a rag. Usually I would use paper towels, but I don't have any over here, so I'm just going to use this rag. And I usually start with a damp brush and then get all the water out of it. I have not sanded the surface of this card, so we'll see if this sticks. Hopefully it does. If you want to make doubly sure of a good bond when you're doing the cards, it would be to use to go over it with a piece of sandpaper first. Okay, so I'm just going to stick this on here and put some matte medium over the top. Gel medium would probably be better because it's a little heavier glue and it's probably going to wrinkle up, and I'm going to be okay with that. All right, let's see if we can pick these up. And just get the yuck off of the, we're going to get some matte medium on the other side of it, and we're going to have to be okay with that. We're just going to have to be okay with it. And now I'm going to dry this, and let's see if it sticks, okay? All right. So if you have a big sheet of translucent paper that you've painted or stamped or all of the above, then you can put a whole bunch of these cards down and stick them all down at one time. Stick the paper to a bunch of them, and then you can take that and cut them apart. It's a quick way to cover a bunch of them all at once. And by using a translucent paper, you can see that you still allow some of the numbers and symbols to show through. And let's put some tacky glue around the edges. What it would be ideal is if you put the paper on, the deli paper on, and then put it under weight. Because if you put it under weight and then you let it dry, it's gonna, you're not gonna have any trouble with it bonding. So we're just gonna, because we're pushing the envelope time-wise, you're just gonna have to be okay with the outcome, okay? All right, I'm gonna dry it just a little bit more. Hello, Terry. Glad you're here. And anybody that I missed saying hello to, I'm glad you're here. Dorothy, I hope you're being in bed and you're drifting off to sleep. Probably Signet is too. Anybody from Europe is drifting off to sleep, I imagine, at some point here. Okay, let's take a pair of scissors and cut these out. You could always tear them. And I'm not going to put anything on this side of the card. I'm just going to leave those. Now, when you use cards out of a deck of cards like this, mark the deck of cards. Mark them that you've used some of the cards from them, because if you don't, you'll be so sad when you go to play cards, play a game, and darn it, they're not all there. And trust me, you will not remember that you used some of them. At least most of us don't remember. Okay, so there we have our cards. And now I have this other piece of paper that I would like to put another, just so it's something different. And I'm going to glue that down. So I'm just going to put a little bit of matte medium here on my mat. Oh, you buy old casino decks. Well, that's a good idea. You can layer these up as much as you want with whatever kinds of things you want to layer up on them. I grabbed a second brush because the first one I stuck in my water container, not thinking about the fact that I wasn't through using it. And so if you're not through using it and you stick it in the water container and it gets totally saturated with water, guess what? It's not going to stick very well. I love working with the translucent papers that have some design on them. These two are paste papers, so it's that paste paint technique. I have many videos on the channel showing the working with paste paint. It's Elmer's Art Paste. I use Elmer's Art Paste and acrylic paint. You can also use starch. You can use wallpaper paste. You can use all different kinds of things. But I use the art paste because it's cheap and I have it mixed up, and so I use that. Okay, so maybe we'll put something else going the opposite way just because we can. Just to make it more interesting. Oh, who couldn't use a good spot? I'll tell you what. And the great part about the translucent papers is they have two different looks. So they look one way this way, and they look a different way flipped around the other side. Maybe we'll put this one over here. Just to layer it up. It just makes it a little bit more interesting, perhaps. You can never have too many spots, people. You can never have too many spots. Here's some more spots. Let's see if one of these sections of spots might work over here on this one. I say, why not? And this is do not get married to any of the steps on this, because a lot of this is just going to disappear. So we're just building a bit of an interesting, hopefully an interesting background. Let's put a little bit of this over on this one. Just building some background and maybe a little bit of something else. Once you get going on this, it's a lot of fun. And put a little bit of this over here. And then maybe a little bit of this on the top. Okay. And this one, that one's okay to me, so I'm going to leave it alone just like it is. Okay, we're going to call that good, I think, unless I want another little piece of this. Maybe. Yeah, we'll put this on here just to use up the matte medium I had left on my mat. Tomorrow morning, I have to get up and get out of here and be at a meeting at 7 a.m. Can you believe that? I don't usually get usually my body isn't even functioning. I'm usually up or at least awake by 7 a.m. But yeah, being coherent and making sense could be real iffy. Could be very iffy. Okay, we're going to call that good. Okay, and no matter how much I want to stick anything else on it, I'm not going to. And just wipe up the matte medium and then hit this with the heat gun again. But I think you can see how you could kind of get a process going where you're doing a whole bunch of these at one time. I know, right, Jinx? Ah. Hello, Kathy. Now, these really should be left to dry. And they should be left to dry totally and completely until they are crispy dry, basically. But we're going to force it a little bit, quite a little bit. Just because we are. And you can see how the cards bend. That is an indicator that they are pretty wet on this side. So if any of these come apart, later I'll just glue things back together. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to use the pattern, the design of a heart, but this one I don't think is quite what I want. So I'm going to use a piece of scratch paper and a pen. And we'll take off these ragtag edges in a minute. I want this to be about from here to about here. All right, so we're gonna just start with the heart shape. Let me make sure this is not stuck together. Okay, it's not. I was afraid maybe it was already stuck together. And then I am not married to the outline. I just give myself a place to start, and then I open it up, and then I'm going to see how it looks, and it will look okay if it's angled. It will look okay if it's straight, so we're good. I like that little shape. It's different than this one that I had on my desk, so it's all good. The bookstore won't be open that early. Yep, that is for sure. That is for sure. I won't be tempted. I will not be tempted, but boy, I about got myself in trouble last night. Yep, I just about did. Well, okay, let's cut off these little ragtag edges. These end up looking nice and grungy. Anytime you start altering cards, they're going to go grungy. That's just the way they're going to be. If you don't want them to be grungy, then don't do this, okay? Then what I like to do is use a nail file or a piece of sandpaper. Again, this is much better done when the paper is crispy dry. And sand down at an angle. And that will blend the edges of the paper to the card. It will blend, it just sands down that edge of the paper, and it makes it look like it blends in with your card edge a lot better. And this is, I think this is one of those nail files that you use for fake nails, maybe. I don't know. I don't know where I got it, quite honestly. Somebody gave it to me. And it's not very good, actually. I'm going to go to my other sanding block. They do get filled up with art crud. And anybody that doesn't like this noise, mute quickly. Much better. Much better, much quicker. Okay. Then you can also take, now or later, you can take ink and go around the edges, but I'm not going to do it now because I'm not done. Okay? Yes, I'm doing ASMR, not very nice ASMR either. Okay, so what I'm going to do is decide how I want to do these. Do I want to do it at a jaunty angle? Probably, because if it's done at an angle, then if I mess it up, then, you know, it's an oops, oh well moment. All right, let's see. A Sharpie, it will clog up. I don't know. Let's see if this, I don't know if this will write on this or not. I just need the outline of the heart. This is a very juicy ink pen. Whew. I don't know where this thing came from. It's a Uniball Signo. Oh, I think it came from the Office Depot that we no longer have. Sadly. Okay. That is going to smear, see? So we're going to try to absorb the excess ink here. All I need is the outline. Okay, let's do the same thing on this one. And this one, let's go this way. Now, you can do a lot more stuff on these. You want this essentially to have the look of like way too much stuff. So you can use stamps, you can use all different kinds of things. When you're doing this technique, it doesn't really matter. You can't overdo it. This one is actually better than this one. Because what I'm looking at is what's inside the heart. Okay, the outside's going to go away or get lightened up dramatically here in a second. So I like this one better than this, but we're going to leave it because I could always add more into that later. All right, I'm going to use some gesso. You could use white acrylic paint or whatever. I'm just going to use gesso because I've got it. Oh, nice, Dorothy. She's going to treat her niece and nephew to lunch tomorrow. Dorothy, you should go to sleep so you'll be all fresh as a daisy for tomorrow then. I'm just going to put some gesso out here if it wants to come out. Apparently this gesso is nice and thick. It's going to all come at once. Really? All right. It's in there. It's just not a lot of it. So Never fear. There's always more where that came from. Obviously, I bought this new container for a reason, because it knew that the other one was running out. Okay, now to use a good, well, not good, just decent is okay. Just a decent brush, and I'm just going to use this cheap flat brush. Ah, thanks, Rhonda. Okay, so what we're going to do, we'll set that one aside. I'm going to start with just pick up the white gesso and paint around the outline of the heart. And if you paint out the outline, don't worry, because we'll bring it back. And since it's small, you've got something to hang on to in the middle. That's helpful. So we're painting out the background. Usually, I mean, most of the time, I'll do the background and then I'll add the focal point on top. Frequently, that's what I do. In this case, we are revealing the focal point by getting rid, getting rid of or softening the background. So while I'm doing this, I'll tell you about our dog, a dog that we had. I don't think I've talked about her very much. These were 3 of our dogs back a long time ago. This was Race's boxer. His name was Zeke. He had on a stud collar, one of those with, you know, like Race thought it was cool. It made him look very mean. He was a very meek and mild dog, scared of his shadow, but he looked real mean with that collar. This was Zeke. This was Bo, that was Clausman's dog, who was 3/4 golden and 1/4 Irish setter. And this little girl right here was named Chezzy, and she was a golden. This is the one I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to tell you the story of Miss Chezzy. So, Clausman had Bo, got him as a 10-week-old puppy because we both thought that as soon as high school was over, that Race would move out and go away and we'd never see him again. You know, it was kind of one of those where it was like we were trying to fill a big gap that we thought was going to happen. Well, it turned out Race didn't leave quite as soon after high school as we were afraid he would. But nevertheless, while I was gone one weekend, Clausman took himself on a car trip because he'd found a litter of puppies, I guess in the paper or something. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't remember how I found this litter of puppies. But anyway, he went, and this was a very big litter of puppies. And so he came, when I got home from my trip, actually I think it was more than a weekend, but when I got home from my trip, wherever it was I went, here was a 10-week-old puppy. And so that's how Bo came to be. And Zeke was here. Zeke was getting older. And so Bo was this rambunctious, teething on everybody and everything puppy. And Zeke was patient with him and put up with him. And sometimes Clausman would take Bo to work with him. He was doing remodeling and repairs and that kind of stuff, construction stuff. And one day in this very swanky neighborhood in our area, a lady walks up to him because she saw Bo in the truck, and she said, "Would you like another golden retriever?" And And he's like, what? And she said, yeah, we have to get rid of our dog. And it's our son's dog. And he's away at boarding school. And so we're going to get rid of the dog before he comes home or something. I mean, it was one of those things which I thought, you've got to be joking. How could you do that to your kid? Clearly, we parented differently. Anyway, that was Chezzy. And they had some other name for her that was similar to Chezzy, but, it was, I don't know, didn't fit her. And so so Clausman says, well, let me come take a look at her. And she said, well, no, we board her every time she goes into heat. And so she's in heat right now. And so she is at such and such boarding kennel. Okay, this dog was about 2 years old. She was right at 2. The husband in this family. Okay, this is the part that didn't ever make sense to me. I never could understand this. Just saying. I have pretty strong feelings about spaying and neutering animals. As far as animals that I have in my possession. In fact, I told Race when he got to a certain point in his life and he was kind of dawdling around about leaving home, I said, that's okay. First of all, I won't stay with you any longer. I will not live with you any longer than you've stayed home with me after you graduated from high school. He didn't find that nearly as amusing as I did. I thought it was funny. But then I have kind of a sick sense of humor sometimes. And then at one point I said, you do realize that everything that lives here is either spayed or neutered. And he didn't think that was very funny either. But it was true. I said, that's the way that is. And so it wasn't too long after that he moved to California. I mean, he moved very far away. Very far away. Anyway. So this doctor, where I sidetracked myself, the male person in this family that owned this dog, he was an obstetrician. But he would not neuter, he would not spay this dog, would not spay her. So kenneled her every 6 months for 3 weeks until she was through her heat cycle. Didn't make sense to me. Didn't make sense to me at all. Okay? It didn't then. It doesn't now. Oh goodness, people have their own. They have their own justification for things, and I get it. I mean, I understand that part of it. I just don't understand the part about kenneling the dog for 3 weeks, twice a year. Okay. This is matte medium. I'm going to put this, I have one little piece of this paper on my desk hanging out. So I'm going to stick this on here. Anyway, so for us to check out the dog, we had to go to the kennel where the dog was being boarded. So we said, well, we have to see if she gets along with the other dog, the one that was closest to her in age, which was Bo. We have to see if they get along. All right. Now, do any of you see the fallacy in our thinking? She's a dog in heat. Bo had already been neutered a long time ago. But we take Bo with us to go and check her, to meet her and everything, see what he thinks. Well, do you think that he's not going to like her? She's in heat. He loved her. He thought she was magnificent. So he thought she was great. All right, so I'm still dinking around with, I'm still looking at some of these. I had found another scrap. There's another scrap on my desk, so I'm like still playing around with this. Okay. Anyway, so we go to the kennel where she's being boarded. We get her out. She and Bo are fast friends immediately, if not sooner, because she's in heat, and although he's neutered, he thought she was great. And of course, my heartstrings are just, yeah, they can't take the fact that she's being kennelled for that long just because she's in heat. So every 3 weeks, or every time she was kennelled, you know, she would, I'm just looking here. Every time she was kennelled, she felt like she'd been abandoned, because that's a long time for a dog to be kennelled. Anyway, I don't remember if we took her home with us right then. I think we had to wait. Yeah, we did. We had to wait because I wasn't going to get stuck paying the kennel bill. And so we called and talked to the people and said, my husband talked to him and said, yeah, you know, we'll take her. But you've got to pay to have her spayed. Well, that wasn't going to happen because they hadn't spayed her before. They're not going to spay her now, of course. And so we said, well, will you split the spay bill with us? And they said, no, if you want her spayed, you got to, I mean, I'm like, man, we're taking a problem off your hands and you won't even split the spay bill. What is wrong with that? Anyway, we took her from the kennel and we took her over to our vet, explained the situation to them, and they, as I recall, gave us a little bit of a break on the spay, because it's not a cheap surgery, especially when a dog is either in heat or just out of heat. That is not inexpensive. Anyway, got her spayed, brought her home. The day that we went to pick her up to do all of this transfer stuff and get her, because she was a purebred dog, but she was not breeding quality or anything. The day we got her, they brought all their kids except for the kid that the dog belonged to. He's away at boarding school because they've gotten rid of the dog while he's gone. You guys, I'm telling you. Yeah, it was killing me. It was killing me. Hey, Trish, it was killing me. It really was. The whole thing, you know, all these kids do get to me. And thinking about this kid, you know, and his dog, he's going to come home and the dog's not going to be there and it's his dog. And so I'm saying, and all these other, I think there were 2 or 3 other kids, they have they're throwing their arms around Chezzy's neck and they're telling her that they love her and they're going to miss her and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. And so I say to the mom, because the dad, we never did meet the dad. It was a good thing because I probably would have slapped him. The mom, I said to her, look, when your son comes home and if he wants to come see where she is and know that she's okay, we can arrange that. I promise you, right hand up, left and right, still a problem. I said, if we don't keep her, she will go to a better household than I can provide for her. Of course, anything that comes to live with me is here forever, so it doesn't matter. All right. I'm just going to dry these while we chat. So Chezzy went to a different vet. She gets spayed. She comes to our house. She walks in and she's like, oh, I like it here. I like it here. And Bo thought she was wonderful by this time, and we still have Zeke. By this time, she's all done with, smelling good and all of that to a dog, and so it's all good. And so she lives with us. I can't remember exactly when she came here, but she never had any obedience training. And she would bolt out a door. If there was a door open, she would bolt. And it's a wonder the dog didn't get hit by a car, because you could not leave a door open. I have since retrained every dog I've ever had after that, so that we never had that problem again. But she would bolt out the door, get her nose in and bolt out, and then I couldn't get her back. She wouldn't come to her name. She wouldn't come to treats. She was just off and free, because she lived in a yard that had an electric fence, underground fence, not electric fence, but an underground fence. And so she was not safe from other dogs coming into their yard. She wouldn't leave her yard, but she was subject to attack by dogs coming in. So her instinct was run, bolt and run. Yeah, exactly, Ruth. Well, so we started her in obedience classes. Bo was in obedience training. Bo was a nice dog, but he was dumber than a rock. He really was. He was the dog in obedience class. We had both the dogs on a drill team that was came out of the obedience training. You had some dogs that were the performing dogs, that were so, that they jump over the other dogs and they do all the stuff, and they were quick learners and all that. Bo was the dog that would lay on the ground so the other dogs could jump over him. He was uncoordinated, sweet as the day is long, but he was a big lug. And he was very sweet, but he wasn't very sharp. He was basically dumber than a brick. But he was a wonderful dog. He really was. Great companion. Chezzy, on the other hand, when she got a look at the agility equipment where you could go up these things and jump over things and, fetch this and do that, as soon as she would catch the idea of whatever it was, she was on it, man. She was on it. She was like, yes, 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 yes. I'm going to do it. And she had a hard time staying, she had a hard time sitting and staying or laying, because she just wanted to go do it. Let's do it. And so she loved agility. She loved drill team. She loved all those things, except she would get nervous. Their first performance, she was so nervous that her first performance out on the floor, she took a big poop. Yes, she did. Stage fright. She just had a little stage fright. It's okay. She had a little stage fright. Anyway, but she loved it. She just had the best time. She was quite the little performer, and she had the best time. And so I wrote a letter to her former family after she'd been with us for about 6 months. And I wrote it from her viewpoint and told them, I invited them to go to her performance out at the obedience center. Invited them to come so they could see how well she was doing and stuff. Because if it had been me, man, I would have wanted to know how my dog was doing. But that's me, And they didn't come. And I never heard anything from them at all. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's going to really anger you as much as it angered me. But this happened just before I tell you this. It happened a really long time ago. So being mad about it now is of no value. Just saying. It won't do us any good, right? But when Chezzy had been with us a couple of years, I still kept up with a lot of the drill team people. This was after, I don't know if it was after Chezzy was gone. She didn't live to be very old. that's another story, but she had a tumor on her spleen, and I've forgotten how old she was. She wasn't very old, and we lost her. But anyway, I saw some of the people from the drill team after that. I think it was after she was gone. And the same family had gotten another golden retriever, a male golden retriever, because apparently they thought the female was too dumb. And then they found out that he needed obedience training just the same way that she did. And so they boarded her and sent her to our obedience school for them to train her and fix her. And then I know, it still irritates me. This is a long, long time ago. Anyhow, let's look at the hearts for a second while I calm myself down. Okay, so there's our hearts. There is the concept that I wanted to show you. It is the same concept as this. Okay, so it's the same concept as this. You can see the background, I think. In the background, you can see all the stuff back there. There's stenciling, there's probably stamping and tissue papers and all kinds of stuff back there. And this is what the background looked like. There's all these very bright, my favorite colors of teal and pink and yellow and gold and all those colors, right? And then I put the feather shape and drew around it. This happened, I don't know, I think this was a die cut shape. I'm pretty sure it was a Tim Holtz die. That this, I think, is the original shape. And then I blew it up on my printer. It has a scan feature on it, and I blew it up, enlarged it, so I had a different size feather. So the same concept. Put it down, draw around it, and then paint around it. And then I came back and I used that same acrylic black ink, and I think probably a dip pen, and went around and emphasized the outlines. And then these I put in, I think that's probably tissue paper that I printed on, although I don't remember. It's something I printed, maybe deli paper I printed on. I don't know. Anyway, but it's the same concept as what this is, but you can see you can do little bitty pieces like this, like the playing cards. Take any shape you want. Doesn't make any difference what it is. The simpler the shape, the easier it's going to be to paint around. And also you want to have enough that when you do the paint out step, paint out the background, you want to have enough that you have enough contrast between the item that you left and the getting rid of the background. And then at this point, you can do, put something else like gesso on the other side and then put quotes on it or whatever you want. Can you imagine if you had a whole book of these? And it could be different. I mean, you could do the same thing as a deck of cards. Like you could have the shape of a club, a shape of a spade, the shape of a diamond, and you could do the same kind of thing as this, but make your own deck. And then on the opposite side, you could put white tissue, or you could do a mixed media technique on this side, or use more of the handmade papers, hand decorated papers and that kind of stuff, and put those on the opposite side as backgrounds for your quotes if you want. But anyway, that was what I thought I would kind of show you tonight. And then I may go back around it and re-emphasize the outline using the ink, because I really like the ink technique, but not this. This is a bold Uniball Signo pen. It is that is juicy, man. That is juicy. And you don't want to use something like a Sharpie or one of your Micron pens or any of that. You don't want to use that on this. You could use a paint pen to go around the outside, or like an acrylic ink or an India ink or something, but don't use anything that is a felt tip, because you will clog that felt tip up in nothing flat and ruin your pen. So anyway, to finish the story about Miss Chezzy, Hey, Devin. To finish the story about Miss Chezzy, she had been here about 6 months. We must have gotten her in the summer because it was our first Christmas with her, and we were having a Christmas party. And we had decorated, it was back when we were decorating our entire house. We had multiple Christmas trees. We had a village set up with a ski lift and one of those Department 56 type villages, and with lights, and it was a whole thing. It would take us weeks and weeks to put this thing together. We loved it, but it took forever to put it together and even longer to take it apart. Because everybody was excited about putting it together, but nobody was too excited about breaking it down. Anyway. And so we were having, it was when Race was a swimmer on the swim team in high school. And so we had several Christmas parties, and one was the swim team, and I can't remember what the other, I think the other one was clients, business clients and friends, I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but we had a couple of them. And so because people were going to be all over our house, I had, bowls of candy and so forth, individually wrapped pieces of candy. And I don't know, I think it was like the night before the party, I happened, because our house has multi-levels, I went up to the living room, which is where the Christmas village was. And we had a couch up there and a coffee table and all of that, places for people to sit, because you could see we had it all decorated with Christmas lights, and there was a tree up there and everything else. So I happened to go up there, just checking things out. And the bowl of candy is on the coffee table, but the candy is down to the very bottom, just a few pieces left, the wrapped candy. But there's candy wrappers all over the floor. I'm like, So I said, I knew that my son hadn't done it because he hadn't been home. He was swimming and he was busy with school. I'm like, okay, when the grandkids hadn't been here, and I'm like, and I thought, if my husband's doing that, eating candy and throwing the papers on the floor, there's a problem. This was way back before there was any sign of dementia, let me tell you. I'm like, it is quite a mystery. Well, it was Miss Chezzy, because I caught her in the act. She went up there and she didn't think anybody was looking. She just helped herself to a piece of candy, and I watched her, and she mouthed it around in her mouth, and after she got the paper, or got the candy out of the paper, then she'd just spit out the paper and go on her merry way. And then I realized, yes, she had been living with all of these kids. And so she really enjoyed candy with these kids. She had quite the sweet tooth. And one of the things that Claus Man loved at Valentine's Day, so we're fast forward in the seasons, one of the things he loved for Valentine's Day was he loved those red hot hearts, red hot candies. He loved those. And that was about the only time that he ever wanted them, was at Valentine's Day. And she would haunt him. She would follow him all over. And so I thought, I wonder if that would work for training her, because they were real tiny, So I ended up using those to train her in obedience stuff, and with the drill team stuff, I would reward her with the red hot candy, and she would do anything, absolutely anything for a red hot. She was a character. She was a cool dog, but she was a character. So she lived with us for the rest of her life, and she was a sweet girl. Okay, so there are the hearts. I still haven't done the outline around them, but I did ink around the edge of the heart a little bit just to kind of give it a little bit of a framework. There's a good place here if I wanted to put a word or whatever. And that's it. Oh, good. Thanks, Jenny. Bye, Signa. Red Hots. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, that is kind of what I have for you tonight. The story of Miss Chezzy. And I think the reason we landed on that name is because I think they called her Shay, but they spelled it Chez, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So we changed it to Chezzy. So she looked like a Chezzy. She didn't look like a Shay. Anyway, so you can remember Chezzy. She would have been good to wear a sign around her neck that said, "We'll work for Red Hots." Or Cinnamon Hearts. She was a funny girl. She was a funny girl. What a great dog. Anyway, all three of those dogs have been gone for a long time now, but I saw that today and I thought, I think I'll tell you the story of a dog that would work for Candy. So anyway. All right, that is the end of tonight's stream, and so I'll be back on Friday. And then that will be the last time I'll stream until the middle of March, because I'm going to be gone. I hope you guys all enjoy your day, your evening, your week, whenever you're watching. And thank you for watching. If you wouldn't mind leaving a thumbs up but as you go, that would be great. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, that would be great for you to do that as well. The Studley Duck is going to make an appearance when we get to the 30,000 mark. We're not too terribly far from that. Okay, and that is that, and I will see you on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your time. These would even be fun if you wanted to make these cheap, and you could leave these with some kind of a fun little message. There were good little things to leave, when you go to a restaurant or a coffee shop or something, just to let people know, just as a gesture of kindness and friendship. Let them know that you care. All right? Okay, I'm going to head out. Thanks for hanging out with me, and thanks for being my friends, and thanks for letting me come into your house or your office or wherever you're watching from. I will see you Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. And as always, remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy. I'll see you before you know it. Bye for now.